Hello. Mình đang chuẩn bị sang thành phố Melbourne ở Úc đây. Tại vì YouTube đã mời mình tham dự một cái Creator Summit ở đó. Creator Summit có nghĩa là cuộc gặp cấp cao của các tác giả. Trong thời gian ở Úc, mình sẽ đi tham khảo một chút về tiếng Anh của người dân ở đấy. Và mình mời các bạn đi cùng mình. So, let's go! Okay, I have arrived in Melbourne, so now it's time to go find some Australians and learn about their English. So first, I want to ask you about some common Australian expressions. Okay. Some of them might be stereotypical. The one that most Americans think of when they think of Australians is g'day. Like g'day, mate.
Yeah, g'day.
Is g'day something that you would say often?
Typically, not really.
It's more of an outback, rural, relaxed setting. In the city, you wouldn't hear a lot.
G'day.
Yeah, g'day, mate. Yeah.
Okay. Do you say that often?
I don't consciously do it, but I think it just slips out occasionally, yeah.
How about no worries?
Yeah, say that a lot.
No worries we say all the time. No worries is a good one.
Oh, you said probably every day, all the time.
No worries.
Oh, I say that all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
So can you give me an example of a situation when you use it?
If people say thank you instead of you're welcome, you say no worries.
Thing like if you bump into someone, you say, I'm sorry, I'll go, no worries, mate.
Yeah. If someone says, oh, thanks for the meal, no worries.
So would you say that you say no worries more than you're welcome?
Yes.
Good on you.
Good on you. Good on you.
Is that something you say very often?
Yeah, we do say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
In what situations?
So when someone does a good job, say good on you. Good on you, well done.
How about one that you just said, how you going?
How you going, yeah.
And that means?
How are you?
We'll say that more than how are you. It's how you going.
So how would you typically respond to that? If one of your friends says, hey, how you going?
Well, we're going pretty well.
All right.
So you would say, I'm going pretty well?
Yeah.
Okay, next I want to ask you a little bit about pronunciation.
Okay.
I've got a couple sentences that I would like you to read.
My father lives far from my teacher.
Can you see what sort of pronunciation element I'm trying to highlight here?
Probably the R's?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So in Australian English, you pretty much never pronounce the R at the end
No.
of the word, right?
It becomes an A, teacher.
And here we go.
I may pray today.
I may pray today.
Maybe this is just a stereotype, but I know some Australians would say it sort of more like, I may pray today. Almost like,
I may pray today.
Today.
Today, yeah.
Today.
Maybe people in the country or kind of out in the bush, they might have sort of more of like today.
Today, yeah, well, very much so, yeah. G'day, today, and all that sort of thing, yeah.
Okay. Is that common? Like, I may pray today.
I'm thinking my sisters who still live in the country talk more like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a little more proper English in the city.
Couple more.
Right, we'll fight tonight.
Right, we'll fight tonight.
So can you see what I'm trying to show there?
Yeah.
Right.
Kind of the right. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that another thing that sort of differs between
definitely.
city and country?
Yeah, definitely.
Out in the country, would it be more like right, we'll fight
Right.
Right, we'll fight
Yeah.
tonight.
All right, we'll fight tonight.
Something like that.
Okay. I've got one more pronunciation thing. This one.
He was running, jumping, and laughing.
He was running, jumping, and laughing.
Okay.
He was running, jumping, and laughing, okay.
Yeah. Now you pronounced it a little bit differently than I was expecting, because I read as I was preparing for this video, I read that Australians usually kind of leave off the G.
Oh,
we just say like
laughing.
running, jumping, and laughing.
Yeah, that is common, yeah.
It's very bush, very country to just drop the G.
If you were just having a conversation with one of your friends,
Right.
do you think you might say he was running, jumping, and laughing?
Maybe.
One more thing I wanted to ask you about was a bit about Australian slang. The first one is all of the things where you guys will like make abbreviations and add E or O, like brekkie, which means, of course,
Breakfast. Yeah.
okay, or arvo, which
Yes.
means
this afternoon.
So what about things like brekkie or arvo? I already know those ones, but are there any others like that you can think of?
Like instead of sunglasses, we say sunnies.
Do you?
Yeah. These are trackies, not track pants.
Oh, really?
Just too long. It's trackies.
Barbecue.
Okay. Come for a Barbie.
Yeah. So would you pretty much always say Barbie?
Yeah.
Never say barbecue?
Oh, sometimes.
If you take a sick day at work, a sickie.
Really?
Yeah.
A durry?
Durry?
What's that?
Cigarette.
Ciggy.
Really?
Yeah.
So you said sparky for an electrician. Are there any other words like that where, like for a job, you have some kind of special term like that, like a slang term?
Brickies.
And that would mean like a bricklayer or a builder?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sparky, chippy, I don't know what they call
What's a chippy? A carpenter?
Yeah, or a builder.
Tradies.
Tradies. Okay.
Who are what's the proper word for a tradie?
Tradesman.
If you're saying, I'm going to be there in half an hour, we'll say, I'll be there in half a.
In half-a?
Half-a, yeah.
I've never heard that.
Have you?
So a lot of nicknames. My sister name's Liza, and so my parents call her Lizy.
Lizy, okay.
Lizy, or yeah.
Darren gets shortened to Dazza.
Dazza.
Really?
Yeah. Barry to Bazza.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Okay.
My name is John, but I get called Johnny or John-O.
I read that sometimes Australians they'll add the word as at the end of a sentence.
Like good as.
Right.
Well as.
Or they'll say like, oh, today like the weather is cold as, or cold.
Yeah, cold as.
Cold as.
So when you say you wouldn't say it's windy as, you would say it's windy as. You
Yes.
emphasize the as.
Yeah.
And it just means like very or really, right?
It's accentuating. Yeah.
It's kind of the shortening of a metaphor. So it'd be like, it's windy as whatever, as windy as hell or something. But you just put the emphasis on the as rather than on the noun afterwards.
Do you do that much?
I don't do it that much, but it's kind of common with younger people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one more thing. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Bogan? Bogan.
Yeah.
Can you explain for my students what bogan is?
Someone who's a Westie.
A Westie?
Yeah.
So what's a Westie then?
A Westie is a bogan.
Like a super stereotypical Aussie person.
It's going to sound really rude, but sort of more lower class people who don't really, or people just don't care about their appearance.
I think Bogan means like not cultured.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not cultured. It's another way of saying working class or...
Rural's typically like less educated, lower socioeconomic kind of...
It's probably not something you would ever say to someone's face about
No.
them.
Unless you're like joking with friends, but you'd never go to someone and be like, you're a bogan.
Is there any other Australian slang that you feel like foreigners ought to know if they're planning to live here or study here?
One thing is like, having tea, come for tea. That's actually dinner.
Thongs.
Okay, yeah.
So
what are thongs?
Thongs are flip-flops
flip-flops
to the rest of the world usually.
But
and you know what a thong is to an American,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
It's okay. All the best.
All right, guys, well, I think that's enough. So thanks a lot for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And there you have it, a little taste of Australian English. But before I finish, I just want to point out that in most of the cases where I was trying to investigate their accents, there wasn't much there. The truth is that with educated urban Australians, the accent isn't that strong. And that's true for educated Americans, educated English people, Irish people, and so on. And I've got a lot of students who are really concerned about studying American English, or British English, or Australian English, because they're planning to go study or work in one of those countries. But it really doesn't matter that much. I mean, imagine that you spent 10 years studying American English, and only studying with American teachers. And then you ended up with pretty good American pronunciation and American vocabulary. But then you came here to Australia to study. You would have the same experience that I have here, which is understanding almost everything, almost always being understood, and then once in a while hearing someone pronounce something in a way that kind of makes you go, wait, what? Or maybe they use a word that you don't really understand, or you use a word that they don't really understand. And then you have to take like 10 seconds to figure out what the other person was talking about. Not really a big deal. So don't worry about studying with an American teacher or a British teacher or whatever. Just study English from educated, intelligent people. It won't really matter which country they come from. They will prepare you well to go anywhere. And that is it. The YouTube event has ended. So now it's time for me to go home. Yeah, coming home isn't so bad. Hey, very quickly, I think by now most of you know about Elsa, my partner or sponsor, but if you don't know, Elsa is a very cool English pronunciation app that I think can help you guys a lot. You can try it free for 7 days when you download it at Google Play or the App Store. After that, you have to pay to use it, but since you're watching this video here, you can get it for a discounted price. Just go to elsaspeak.com/danhauer and follow the 3 steps there to check out with a price that's discounted from 10 to 80%. And that's it. You guys will see me again in a couple of weeks.